All right, so now we're going to start talking about developing a load. What we have here is Winchester 308. We're using CFE 223. We've got our 15 rounds that we're going to charge, going from 44.2 grains all the way up to 47 grains. Book max in the Hornady manual is 47.2. We're not going to go all the way up. I don't see any reason to go above book max. So the other way I like to do powder is with my balance beam scale and my powder thrower. When I use stick powders, I'll use my Charge Master. Unless I'm just doing load development, then I'll use the Charge Master. Otherwise, I'll use, for when I use ball powders, I try to always use this little system. It's quite a bit faster. So I've got all my notes here. I'm looking for this. For right now, I'm loading 6.5 Creedmoor, and I need 44 grains of powder. So I can, my balance beam scale is already zeroed, and I can move it right here to 44. Then I can come over here to my powder dump. Let me make this a little bit easier to see. There we go. And dump my powder in. Now once I get this thing set to exactly the right load, I don't have to measure anymore. I can just run it. So we'll see what this comes out to be here. And obviously, that is way low. And we'll see if we're close here. That was too much. So I like having the magnifying glass here, maybe because I'm getting old, maybe not, but it makes the line so much easier to see, so much bigger. Looks like that we're getting close. We're maybe about 1/4 of a grain off here. It might seem time consuming, but this is going to speed everything up so much because you're not waiting for the Charge Master to keep dumping loads. When you do run stick powder through one of these powder throwers, then you've got to use one of these little powder tricklers here, and you set your powder trickler low. Okay, so she's set up dead nuts. So now that we're perfect, we've got 50 rounds here, and we can just dump all 50 rounds. And because it's a ball powder, we know that each one's right. When you're trying to run a stick powder through this, sometimes it cuts the granules, sometimes it kicks them up, sometimes you get a little bit more or a little bit less. Now, if you're just making plinking rounds, that's not a big deal. But if you're trying to make rounds that are going to hit at a mile or 1,000 yards every time, perfect, without fail, you need to be able to either measure each one or know that each one is absolutely perfect. So then, after we've gone through all 50 rounds, now that we've filled up all of our cases with our powder, we can take, and we'll just take one at random and check it and make sure that she zeroes out correctly. And we look like we're right on the money there. So that's just another way to measure your powder. I do find it considerably faster when I use a ball powder. All right, seating. So we've got our seating die here. This one happens to be a RCBS gold medal match. Kind of like the window here. We just set it in here. We've got our shell holder in place, and we're going to take number 1, so that's our smallest charge, and take our good old-fashioned Sierra Match King and just set them in here. Now, we're not really worried about seating depth at this point. All we're looking for is to make sure we are at our case or maximum cartridge overall length, which is 2/810. So cartridge overall length or less. This is about one of the only times that I will use the calipers without using an anvil and an ogive measure. All right, so now that I know that my cartridge is under the maximum overall length, so it'll fit in any chamber that is chambered for 308, I've got my comparator and my anvil on here. So now I just measure my ogive, which is the bearing surface of the bullet. So we're at 21,620 or 2162. We'll write that down and take that measurement. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go out to the range and we will shoot all 15 of these in order with a chronograph at 600 yards to see where they hit, record our velocities, and see where they group. And we'll go on to the next step after we get that done.